Muy buenos días, queridos amigos, todos los que están escuchando este servicio hoy día. Somos de Gateway Fellowship en Sacramento, California, y durante el mes de enero hemos estado presentando varios mensajes sobre las misiones en el mundo. Hoy vamos a enfocar en una pareja que está preparando para irse a Guinea, en África Occidental. Todavía están aquí en Estados Unidos, se llaman Timothy y Jessica Chapman. Y hoy ellos van a compartir su historia por medio del servicio. En adición a esto, vamos a presentar algunos ministerios que tiene la alianza. Eso será su presentación abreviada en español, pero si quieren ver todo, pueden ir a la parte inglés de Gateway Fellowship y escuchar toda la presentación en inglés. Oremos. Padre, pido que tú bendigas este tiempo y que a través de esta presentación podemos crecer en nuestro amor para las naciones y también entender que tú eres un gran Dios que ama a todas estas personas de todos los grupos de la tierra. Y gracias por la familia Chapman y pedimos, Padre, que tu bendición esté con ellos y que tú guíes cada paso que están haciendo hasta que lleguen al campo de misionero y úsalos allí también. En el nombre de Jesús oramos. Amén.
Good morning, Gateway family.
Good morning.
We are excited to be joining you again this year to share what the Lord has been doing in our lives, as well as to share a little bit about Alliance missions around the world. Thank you, pastors, for allowing us to share all of this again this year. So I grew up as a missionary kid in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is right about here in the heart of Africa. My family were the only white people, and we were the only people that spoke English for hundreds of miles. In fact, the only way we could get in and out of our small village was by a small airplane, and that airplane would land on a grass airstrip right in front of our house. I loved my growing up years. They were a lot of fun, and I was able to participate and observe my parents' ministries. I really grew in my understanding of missions and my heart to serve Africans. When I was not helping my family, my parents in their work, or being homeschooled, I was off playing with my friends and exploring the jungle.
And far away, 7,500 miles to be exact, living a very different life. I was being raised in a family of 5 kids in the middle of the United States, in the state of Missouri. My parents raised us to love Jesus, and when I was 5, I accepted him into my heart for the first time. But it wasn't until I was 11 or 12 that my faith really began to become my own. My parents, throughout my growing up years, shared with us lots of stories of missionaries. They would host missionaries in our homes, and we would see them writing checks to support missions. So it's not terribly surprising that when I was 7 years old, I said to my mom, when I grow up, I'm going to be a missionary nurse. When I was 18, I decided I'm going to do this for real. And so I decided that missions was definitely in my future. But how that was going to happen and when it was going to happen was definitely going to be outside of what I was thinking.
When I finished high school, I came back to the United States for college, and I studied international agriculture development. My hope was to use my experience growing up cross-culturally, as well as my new education in agriculture, as a way to help people's physical needs. But I was also burdened for their spiritual needs as well.
I went on a 3-month mission trip to Haiti when I was in my early 20s. And while I was there, the Lord really directed my path into becoming a nurse. So I came back to the States, went to nursing school, and I spent 5 years working as a pediatric and pediatric ICU nurse. And during those years, I really wondered, Lord, how am I going to serve you full-time in missions? It was during those years that I began to go on multiple medical mission trips a year. And during those years, the Lord began to develop in my heart a love for maternal and child health and blending maternal and child health education with sharing the gospel. So in 2013, when an opportunity presented itself for me to spend 2 years in the Central African country of Cameroon to work with a local church and establish a community health evangelism program, I was very excited and on board to go. And I had no idea how very, very glad I was going to be.
Timothy y Jessica Chapman se conocieron en el África hace unos años cuando los dos estaban trabajando en diferentes proyectos misioneros en 2 países cercanos en el centro de África. Por el plan de Dios, sus sendas se cruzaban y ellos podían conocerse por medio de una familia misionera allí. Y en el plan de Dios se enamoraban y dentro de unos meses se casaban.
When Jessica and I served in Central Africa, we were both involved in holistic community development ministries. And we really loved this because it allowed us to use our training to help people's physical needs, but also be able to address their spiritual needs.
For example, when I was living in Cameroon, I was working with a local church, and lay leaders and I would look in the community and assess health needs that were there. And then we would develop these lessons about certain health topics with corresponding spiritual lessons. And in this way, these lessons could be taken out by these lay leaders into the community and taught door to door.
So in 2018, when we were looking for an organization to go with, we were looking for an organization that had a lot of those same kind of holistic ministries. There are a lot of really great organizations out there. Some focus very heavily on the spiritual. So they're looking for pastors. They're wanting to do church planting and evangelism, which is great, but they often forget the physical needs. And on the other side of that, there are really great organizations out there that are helping people with their physical needs, but they're kind of neglecting to bring the whole gospel into that work.
Después de oír del ministerio de la Alianza, Jessica y Timothy Chapman sentían que el Señor les había abierto esta puerta para trabajar con la Alianza Cristiana y Misionera, la denominación de la cual es nuestra iglesia de Gateway, en algún país del mundo con la organización misionera de la Alianza, los servicios de cama. Timothy y Jessica al continuo hablan de Cama Services, uno de los 4 ministerios que la Alianza tiene, organizaciones que usan para extender el Evangelio en diferentes partes de la tierra. Veremos un ejemplo de personas en distintos lugares del mundo que trabajan en cada uno de estos 4 ministerios, y también veremos el ministerio que van a llevar a cabo los Chapman por medio de Cama Services.
So we would like you to think of Alliance Missions as an umbrella. There should be a couple of young missionaries to join us to help explain this concept. You went to seminary and are a pastor. You have a heart for evangelism, church planting, and missions. You can go with the specialized structure of Access, which is under the umbrella of Alliance Missions.
Somos Bob y Cyril. Muchos recordarán el año 2020 como el año de la pandemia mundial, Pero para nosotros en Guadalajara, México, recordaremos el 2020 como el año de las puertas abiertas al ministerio en un lugar conocido como el Círculo del Silencio, y nuestra oración de fe es: Señor, abre las puertas y por fe entraremos. El Círculo del Silencio es una región del centro de México compuesta por 19 millones de personas y 2 tribus indígenas con el menor acceso al Evangelio en el hemisferio occidental. En Guadalajara estamos estratégicamente ubicados en el epicentro de esta región para poder llegar a ese Círculo del Silencio y penetrar esa zona oscura con nuestro mensaje de esperanza y luz. Le hemos pedido al Señor que nos permita plantar 10 iglesias en 10 años. Nuestra oración es: Señor, abre las puertas incluso durante la pandemia. Dios ha abierto corazones como los de Lalo y Sara. Sintieron el llamado de Dios en su vida, pero la vida simplemente ha interferido. Dios trabajó en sus corazones durante la pandemia y se dieron cuenta de que no experimentamos la bendición de Dios hasta que obedecemos su llamado. Que sentían la necesidad de trabajar a tiempo completo, y así en medio de esta pandemia, Lalo dejó su trabajo de computación y se convirtió en nuestro primer pastor nacional a tiempo completo en Guadalajara. A través de un ministerio de la iglesia local y gracias al apoyo del ministerio Cama y la Confraternidad Mundial, nuestro ministerio de mujeres ha proporcionado alimentos a 5,000 personas durante 10 días. Más de 2,200 bolsas de alimentos se untaron con Biblias, literatura bíblica y el plan de salvación, y a menudo acompañadas de oración. Les agradecemos por su apoyo maravilloso y les animamos a continuarlo mientras la economía en México está siendo aplastada por esta pandemia. En un estado vecino, 3 horas de Guadalajara, un grupo de personas nos pidió visitarlas. Son un grupo pequeño de 12 personas y nos preguntan: ¿pueden ayudarnos a plantar una iglesia? Conducimos hasta ellos y nos reunimos en un pequeño patio al aire libre. Mas, ¿cómo no podemos responder a su llamado? Nos piden ayuda para alcanzar su ciudad. En este estado donde fuimos está categorizado como el estado más violento de todo México. La gente está desesperada y buscan al Señor con un corazón abierto. Es un trabajo inconcluso. Somos plantadores de iglesias porque creemos que lo más importante que podemos dejar a una comunidad es una iglesia física y también espiritual. Hemos visto que la iglesia permanecerá y sobrevivirá al virus COVID. Y cuando todos los misioneros se hayan marchado, las personas en las que hemos dedicado nuestra vida permanecerán. Las personas que hemos discipulado, los niños que hemos alcanzado con la escuela dominical, son la iglesia. Son la iglesia que seguirá siendo luz y esperanza en el mundo oscuro. Únanse a nosotros en este trabajo que no acaba, esta gran llamada al Círculo del Silencio. 7 nuevas iglesias plantadas, comunidades necesitadas, personas con corazones abiertos al Evangelio de Jesucristo. Gracias por su apoyo, por sus oraciones y gracias por enviarnos.
You have a master's in business administration, but you also have a heart to share Christ with people in a cross-cultural setting. You want to start a business where you can do what you love while sharing the gospel. You go as a missionary under the specialized structure of Marketplace Ministries, which is under the umbrella of Alliance Missions.
Hola, mi nombre es Josh Ponpem Camboya. Mi esposa y yo nos mudamos a Camboya hace 4 años y medio para usar los talentos que Dios nos dio para luchar contra el tráfico sexual de niños en el nombre de Jesús. Aquí hemos aprendido que la forma más importante para luchar contra esta injusticia es a través de la prevención de la trata de personas. Dios nos ha regalado la capacidad de contar historias a través de videos, fotografías y música, y por eso nuestro anhelo es capacitar y empoderar y discipular a los jóvenes creadores cristianos camboyanos para que puedan usar los medios de comunicación para transformar esta nación, aboliendo la trata de personas y promoviendo el reino de Dios. Durante el último año, hemos estado trabajando para armar una empresa de producción de medios para hacer precisamente eso. Hay momentos que pensamos que somos bastante tontos al crear una empresa en medio de una pandemia. Y sin embargo, en todo el mundo nos damos cuenta de la importancia y el poder de la tecnología, los medios, las películas y los videos para poder conectarnos con otros. Y así, Dios ha estado confirmando una y otra vez que Él está preparando este ministerio para un tiempo como este. Alabamos a Dios porque aquí en Camboya el COVID no ha producido una crisis de salud como en otros países. Y sin embargo, Camboya no se ha librado de la destrucción económica. Hemos visto miles de personas perder sus trabajos y sus medios de vida debido a la completa paralización del turismo y la industria de la confección. Con una mayor necesidad física y económica, aumenta el riesgo de que los niños sean vendidos por sexo. Percibimos esta mayor urgencia para lanzar esta iniciativa lo antes posible para que podamos prevenir la trata aquí en Camboya. Y así hemos estado contratando, comenzando el proceso de capacitación y empoderamiento de los camboyanos. Estamos muy entusiastas con las oportunidades que tenemos por delante, mas estamos tan impresionados y agradecidos por nuestra familia aliancista. Ustedes nos sostienen aquí en el campo misionero a través de sus ofrendas, sus oraciones y su alianza con nosotros. Y estamos muy emocionados de compartir lo que pasará aquí en Camboya en los próximos días.
You're a teenager, and you want to know more about missions. You don't know if God is calling you or not, and you want to learn more about it. You serve short-term, 1 month to 2 years, with the specialized structure of Envision, which is under the umbrella of Alliance Missions.
In 2008, when my wife and I moved to Taiwan, we remember thinking, wouldn't it be cool if we could host internships for Taiwanese brothers and sisters in the same way as we were planning on doing internships for people coming over from the States? In 2018, a decade later, our friend Jennifer was supposed to go to Singapore and instead came here to do an internship in the cafe. And a couple years later, we decided to offer her a management position in the cafe. I remember she reluctantly took it, and I found out later why. She said, "Chris, I don't know if I've ever finished something, and I want to learn this management position so well that it would become an avenue through which I share the gospel with friends and other people in Taiwan and beyond." I was so moved when she shared that idea. It's amazing to see how God is surrounding her with people and other resources to help her to learn and grow in this position. Around this same time, actually, we had a desire stirring in our hearts to build an education center, a space where more people could hear about Jesus, a space that went beyond the current limitations of our facility, a space that could focus on education and training and equipping our Taiwanese brothers and sisters. And so we actually found a spot right above our cafe. And then COVID hit. Investors pulled out and said, "We just don't feel comfortable with this during the COVID era." I believe that the Education Center is going to be a vital part of our ministry moving forward. But I think God has more than what our original plans were. See, what He starts, He finishes. And so we're excited to build into the next step of what God is doing here. I mean, what would it be like if thousands of Jennifers could be in a place where they could find a vision for their lives, discover God's calling for their lives, and then get trained and equipped in that, get sent out? We believe that God has great things in store for this country, but the work's not finished. We need partnership with people like you to be able to move forward, to progress towards finishing the work. Thank you for partnering with us.
You are an agriculturalist, and you want to help impoverished communities learn better farming methods and share the gospel while you do it. You go under the specialized structure of Comma Services, which is under the umbrella of Alliance Missions.
You are all under the umbrella of Alliance Missions and fall under 4 specialized structures. You all have different ways of doing ministry, but the same goal of bringing access to the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Pues continuamos enfocando en la familia Chapman, específicamente oyendo de cuál era su trasfondo eclesiástico, cuál era su trasfondo en cuanto a la iglesia en que se criaban y cómo llegaban a conocer y relacionarse con Gateway Fellowship.
Timothy and I did not grow up in the Alliance. As a matter of fact, I grew up in an Assembly of God church, and Timothy grew up as the son of American Baptist missionaries. So when we began our application process and we're going to be serving with the Alliance, we felt like we really wanted to get to know more what the heartbeat of the Alliance was. We had been attending a non-denominational church here in Sacramento for many years, and we had been actually the mission directors there, but we felt like we also needed to branch out and learn more about the Alliance. The national office recommended that we visit Gateway Fellowship, and so the very first Sunday that we showed up, we were welcomed so warmly. It was Mother's Day of 2019, and so many of you greeted us, and we had no idea what family you would really become to us. Over the past few years, you have reached out to us in love and support. Even this year with COVID, there has been so much love from all of you, even down to people who knew that we didn't have help and support when Emmett was going to be born, and people took on-call slots to come to the house and watch Elliot when I went into labor. They dropped everything and helped us for several days. We've enjoyed your porch visits and your meal drop-offs and text messages and phone calls, and have really felt the closeness of the Alliance family. The other thing we have loved about Gateway Fellowship is how missional you are. Whether it's being involved in Mexicali, whether it's giving to the ministry we're doing, whether it's giving to the Great Commission Fund, all of you are so missional in your thought process. We love that about you, and we believe Jesus loves it about you too. We also have been so impressed with the larger global Alliance family and how focused they are on taking the gospel to the most unreached in our world.
Veamos algo de su futuro con Comma Services, el ministerio de la Alianza, que usa métodos físicos y prácticos para ministrar a la gente en países empobrecidas y necesitadas por diferentes desastres, con el fin de compartir el amor de Jesucristo y el mensaje de salvación en Jesús.
When this journey began, we didn't really feel called to any one particular country or people group. We knew that we had a heart for Africa, and we knew that we wanted to serve with Comma Services. But we didn't know where. And so the next step we had was to go to Comma Services and figure out where Comma was already working and where they could use us. And so we went to leadership, and we told them our hearts, and we told them what we had to offer. And as we did that, they kept telling us about the country of Guinea and the national church there and some of the initiatives that they were doing and how they could really use people with our giftings. And so we had never really considered the country of Guinea before, but we applied to go there, and then we took a trip to Guinea to see if it might be a good fit for us.
There are 4 countries throughout the world that have the word Guinea in their name, but we are going to the Guinea that's just simple and plain Guinea. Guinea is located on the west coast of Africa, right about here. It is one of the poorest countries in the world, and they have some pretty gnarly roads, but they also have some just beautiful mountains and amazing waterfalls, and they have coast and rainforests. It's a really beautiful country. The country itself is made up of many people groups, most of which have little to no access to the gospel. As we traveled through the country, we saw mosques in every village, but very rarely did we see a church. In fact, less than 1% of the population are Christians and Jesus followers and could tell their fellow Guineans about who Jesus is and what he came to do. The chance that a Guinean, especially a rural Guinean, would have an opportunity to hear the good news of Jesus is extremely, extremely low.
In 2013 and 14, the Ebola virus swept through Guinea, killing many people. And people just weren't sure how to handle the virus, and they weren't sure how to handle all the death that was happening around them. A man by the name of Pastor Jeremy took it upon himself to go into the villages and to mourn with people who had lost family members to Ebola, and to give his condolences and give them a hope that he had in Christ Jesus. When Ebola was over, Pastor Jeremy began looking around at his new friends and saw that a lot of them had lost spouses to Ebola. And now the living spouse was responsible for feeding their entire family off of what they were growing. Pastor Jeremy, trying to help people out, began to research how to improve the crops, how to improve the yields for people. And he found a couple of basic principles that he began to teach, and that helped people out a little bit. He realized that people need a place where they could come and learn basic agricultural practices, improved practices, learn about new crops. And as they were doing that, they could also learn about the gospel. During that time, a village came and gave Pastor Jeremy 40 acres of land as a thank you for helping them out during Ebola. But there's a problem. Jeremy is a pastor. He is not trained in agriculture. And so he requested Comma Services to send someone to him that can help him to build this farm out and create this training center, someone to teach him and to help teach others as they come. This is where I come in. Pastor Jeremy, he has the vision. He has the trust of the people. He has the enthusiasm and the drive to keep this program alive and moving forward. But he needs technical assistance. And so when there's a problem with tomatoes growing, or people are at the farm and they want to learn something specific, I can come in and I can help address those problems or provide those trainings. But Pastor Jeremy can continue to work and take this project forwards.
The Lord has given Pastor Jeremy this vision of walking through the open door of farming education as a way to share the hope not only of better crop production and less suffering for people's families, but also for the hope of being able to share the gospel with people for the first time. The National Church in Guinea, of which Pastor Jeremy is a member, is working hard to create programs and ministries that can reach their own people. They are attempting to share the gospel, and Jesus is being preached.
Durante esta presentación hemos visto cómo la familia Chapman ha sido guiado por Dios para irse al campo misionero en el país de Guinea. Ellos son un ejemplo para nosotros, para nuestros jóvenes que ven esto, y para que ellos también puedan escuchar la voz del Señor. Y si Dios les está guiando a hacer algo semejante, en servir a Dios de esta forma, o a los jóvenes adultos y otros de nuestra congregación, para que nos comprometamos completamente con Dios. Es un ejemplo de cómo Dios guía a personas a cruzar barreras que existen, barreras de cultura, idioma y distancia, para ir a un pueblo que necesita escuchar las buenas noticias de Jesucristo. Timothy y Jessica, junto con sus dos hijos, Elliot y Emmett, irán a Francia, Dios mediante, este verano para estudiar francés, que es el idioma que se usa en todo o muchas partes del oeste de África. Y después de un año en Francia estudiando, irán a Guinea en el verano de 2022. Ellos pueden ir en esta misión a Guinea, y otros obreros internacionales pueden hacer lo mismo, porque los miembros de las iglesias aliancistas dan a un fondo que se llama el Fondo de la Gran Comisión. Por medio de este fondo, los obreros internacionales y los ministerios que hacemos en el extranjero están sufragados. Gateway está enviando a cada participante en Gateway un formulario por email, correo electrónico, para que puedan comprometerse económicamente con el apoyo de las misiones aliancistas. En el formulario verán que hay dos formas para dar a las misiones de por medio de la Alianza Cristiana y Misionero. En principio, pueden dar a la misión en general, sin designar a ninguna pareja o familia misionera, sino solo apoyando la obra donde hace falta este dinero. O si deseas, pueden dar directamente a una pareja o una familia específica, tal como los Chapman o los Wolski, que son otros misioneros de nuestra iglesia que trabajan en Francia, o por medio de otros misioneros de la Alianza que conocen, como los Manfred. Él estaba en nuestra iglesia hace unos años de Camboya. Lo que deciden dar, guiado por el Espíritu Santo, es una promesa, no es un contrato. Nadie les va a pedir que pague esta cantidad. Sin embargo, uno está confiando en Dios para poder dar esa cantidad a la obra misionera. Pues consideren cuánto pueden dar cuando reciben ese formulario. Llénalo, por favor, con la cantidad o por misiones en generales o a una pareja o familia específica o una combinación de las dos cosas. Sírvanse también ver el video que está junto con este video de este mensaje, que habla un poco más sobre el fondo de la Gran Comisión que pusimos la semana pasada, y estas también. Les rogamos llenar este formulario antes del 14 de febrero. Vamos a enviar la cantidad total a la sede de la Alianza en Estados Unidos para que ellos sepan cuánto las personas de Gateway están deseando dar este próximo año. Ellos no van a recibir la cantidad de cada persona específicamente. Luego, durante este mes de febrero, el mismo mes que hagan esa promesa de fe, están rogados a empezar a dar mensualmente o semanalmente, como desean, una porción de la cantidad total que han prometido durante este año. Que el Señor les guíe en cuanto a dar y les dé la capacidad de dar en este próximo año, y que tu corazón siga creciendo con el mío en cuanto a las cosas de Dios y su deseo para las naciones de la tierra. Oremos. Padre, bendice la familia Chapman hoy en los próximos meses en cuanto a su preparación para ir a Francia, y finalmente cuando lleguen a Guinea empiecen a trabajar en la obra que tú has preparado para ellos. Que sean usados para ministrar a muchas personas en sus necesidades físicas y necesidades espirituales también. Y oremos también por la obra de la alianza en general, desde la obra extranjera hasta la obra aquí en Gateway. Que tú sigas prosperando lo que se hace para tu honra y tu gloria. Usa a cada uno de nosotros. En el nombre de Jesús oramos. Amén. Que el Señor les bendiga mucho.